Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for November 27th through December 3rd. This week I read 4 books, I watched 4 things, and I listened to 1 book. As you've probably gathered, this is not my normal filming location. It turns out that we had family that decided to randomly show up from England, and we had to drive the last few 100 kilometers to be able to see them this weekend, so that's really fun. It's been a really good weekend. I've seen a lot of people I haven't seen in a very long time because of the current world situations, and obviously it's really good to see them because I haven't seen them in 3 years, so this is a wonderful weekend, and also the start of the Queer Lit Readathon, which starts today, which is going to be great. The first book I read this week is Last Call at the Nightingale. This is a historical fiction book set in the Prohibition era in New York, and it follows this girl named Vivian who by day is a seamstress, by night really loves going to this club called the Nightingale. She just really likes to dance when she can afford it or when somebody else is buying. She'd like to get a drink in her, and one day when she's there, she's taking a smoke break with her best friend who also works there. They go into an alley and they find a dead body. This becomes a big mystery where she's put on this task to try to figure out who this person was and why they died. And it was just such a fun adventure because it goes around a bunch of different corners, and at first she is very against trying to figure out this mystery. Like, she doesn't want the danger, she doesn't want the hassle, but then she gets in debt to somebody and figures she can look into it a little bit, sure. She just doesn't want to get into anything too dangerous, and unfortunately she does at points. This is also the first in a series, and I'm excited to read the next one just because there are little things about the characters and their backstories that have a mystery aspect to them. Based on the way this one ended, you're thinking that maybe she might get some answers for that in the next one, so we'll find out. The next book I read was a graphic novel that I thought was historical fiction, and this one is called Softboiled. I read this one because the author actually contacted me because she is local to where I live, and I think she was just looking for people on the island who also talk about books, and she was like, hey, I just had this graphic novel come out. Can I send you a copy? And I said, yes, you can. So this graphic novel, it starts out with this very depressed, hard-boiled detective just about to shut down their business, and then you realize that it's not actually a detective business in like the noir style, it's actually an escape room in the noir style, and that's the business that's shutting down. However, then our main character has some personal things that happen to her, and then she does end up having to solve a mystery. So again, a really good time, especially because I knew a lot of the locations that she was in. So I was like, oh yeah, they're walking down Fantan Alley. Oh yeah, this is probably just around the corner there. I can't remember exactly what the street is called, but it's probably right there. Oh, she's talking about how she lives in Langford. That's where I live, etc. The art style isn't that much to write home about, but that didn't really detract from how much I really enjoyed reading this queer comic about this woman who's down on her luck but just trying her darndest. Next I read Well, That Was Unexpected. This is written by the same author, Jessie Q. Sutanto, who wrote Dial A for Aunties. This is her YA release, and I very much enjoyed it. This is dual point of view, so first we have Charlotte. Charlotte is American-born Chinese. She lives, obviously, in America, and she's decided recently that she is ready to lose her virginity to her boyfriend Bradley. So she goes to do that, but then realizes she's not quite ready. He backs off. He's like a gem of a human being, but her overprotective Indonesian mother walks in on them, overreacts, and decides she's taking Charlotte to Indonesia for the summer. Our second point of view character is George. As we meet him, he is having some very healthy, normal 17-year-old boy alone time. However, his family has no boundaries, so when his dad just bursts into his room, he closes the tab of what he was actually watching, which was very vanilla, apparently, that's what he tells us. But playing behind that tab was this animated game with gnomes and badgers, and now his dad thinks that he was having alone time with gnomes and badgers and figures he needs to find his son a real teenage girlfriend. From here, we have this hysterical and inappropriate circumstance where Charlotte's mom and George's dad are catfishing each other online so they can make it so they set up a date between these two so they can each date respectable human beings. It goes from there. There's fake dating involved. There's so many little funny twists and turns. There's so many times I was actually yelling at the characters in this book because some people need to learn boundaries. I had a lot of fun with this book. This was one of 2 5-star reads I had had for November. Speaking of which, I did post my November wrap-up a few days ago, so if you haven't seen that yet, I will post that link down below for you. The final thing I read with my eyeballs was actually my first ever Book of the Month Club pick, because yes, that came to Canada, and yes, if you want to try it out, I have a referral code down below. But that was White Horse by Erika T. Wurth. This is an Indigenous horror book about this main character who has gone through some things, starting with the fact that her mother walked out on her when she was 2 days old. Add to that her father was obviously grieving, got himself into a car accident, and actually ended up with brain damage, so he needs somebody to take care of him all the time. And add to that, in her early 20s, she lost a best friend in a terrible way. Like, she's had a hard life, but she's really turned it around. She's doing really well for herself. She's working a couple of jobs, she hangs out with her cousin, things seem to be good. However, one day her cousin finds something that she thinks might have been her mother's, and as soon as she starts touching it, she starts seeing visions of her dead mother. From there, she has to figure out what actually happened to her mother all of those 35 years ago. This had some pretty deep themes of generational trauma mixed in with a literal monster, and then also that monster being a metaphor for somebody else, and I really liked seeing all of that come together because all of this was happening over weeks upon weeks upon weeks of time, and it was just interesting to see all of these different relationships, how they interconnected, new people coming into her life, and just what that all meant. The sun is rising in full, and I think it might be messing with how you can see, so I'm just gonna close this curtain. Give me a second. Alright, hopefully that's nice for you, because all I could see was like light shining kind of directly almost at the lens, and I was like, that's probably not good. I really hope that this recording hasn't been messed up, and I really hope that this lighting is okay, because again, I don't have a front-facing thing, so I have no idea. I literally just finished this book last night, so I think I'm still processing it. I actually stayed up until 1 a.m. to finish it so I could get it done before I start doing my Queerly Readathon reading, which I haven't started yet because I need to do this first. So I think I'm going to have more thoughts about this for my monthly wrap-up. However, overall, I really enjoyed this, and I'd be looking forward to reading more by this author in the future. On to what I've watched this week. I didn't really watch the usual things I watched this week, but I did watch a lot of episodes of Ally McBeal. My roommate has actually been going through it since a couple of weekends ago. She basically just had to sit home all weekend just to make sure that she hadn't caught the plague and started watching it, so every once in a while I just go upstairs when she's home and pop in and watch some episodes, and I find some of these characters so very charming. Some of the situations are ridiculous. I really love how much Jesse L. Martin is in this show, because I didn't really watch this show growing up. I saw a few episodes, so I knew about like the dancing baby, but that was about it. And I am having a lot of fun getting to know these characters, even though I'm not watching every single episode with her. We also watched the comedy special Cristela, Alonzo, Middle Classy, and this was again a lot of fun. I'm enjoying how much we're putting on just random comedy specials, especially for people that I've never heard of before, like this comedian, because there were just some great one-liners in there, some very underplayed things, such as she was talking about how in her family they had to share birth certificates, and her brother Cristela really hated that. And I thought that was one of the funniest underplayed lines of the whole thing, and that's why it stuck in my brain. This week, because snow and beauty, and yes, we can finally start celebrating this holiday season, we watched not only Home Alone, but Home Alone 2. These are always movies that we love revisiting because you can talk through them, but you can also try to count how many times people would have actually died if these certain things happened to them. And there's just so many hilarious, wonderful moments throughout these. They're very heartfelt in places. We're just big fans. Although I've never seen the third one, and I'm told that is the right choice, and they also made a new one last year, and I haven't seen that either. So if anyone's seen that one, I think it's called Home Sweet Home Alone. If you've seen it and it's worth watching, please let me know, but I don't think I'm going to search it out unless somebody tells me it's worth my time. Finally, the book I listened to this week is An Honest Lie by Tarryn Fisher. This is a book about a woman who has recently moved to the West Coast after living on the East Coast for quite some time. She moved there to be with her boyfriend. They live, I believe, in Washington State. And she doesn't really have the easiest time integrating into a group of people. Like, she is very much a loner. She likes to keep to herself, and that has a lot to do with her past, which we learn about as you get through this book. This book is split up between now and then, and at the very beginning of the book you know there's going to be a life and death situation, but then you're kind of rolled back before that happens and you have to figure out how it got to that. The now timeline has to do with her having hung out with her boyfriend's friends for about a year, and they decide that they are going to invite her on their yearly girls trip. However, it's to a location she does not want to go to, but she doesn't want to tell anyone why she doesn't want to go there, so she ends up having to go there. That location is Vegas, and she doesn't want to go there because years ago she used to live in a place called Friendship, Nevada, which is fairly close to Vegas, and it was not a good time because it was in fact a cult. We see her from just before her and her mother arrived to this cult, which her mother did not realize was a cult until they'd already gotten there and they were already stuck there. And you see her as a child learn over time that this is a bad circumstance, but how can they get out of it? I feel like this one was put together fairly well, and it had a bunch of red herrings as to what I thought was going to happen, and then it went in directions I didn't know where it was going to go, and I always really appreciate that. There must be a person outside because the most adorable little dog that lives here is just losing her head right now. In any case, if you want a mystery thriller that's probably going to keep you on your toes, it kept me on my toes, I definitely recommend this one. Also, before I go, I just wanted to say that the cousin that is here and visiting actually made a series of both TikTok and then Instagram Reel videos where she was surprising different people who didn't know she was coming, because literally only her sister knew she was coming and helped orchestrate this whole situation. So I'm going to link her Instagram down below because I don't have TikTok. If you want to see a bunch of family members just getting surprised after not having seen her for 3 years, definitely recommend those videos because pretty much every single time they made me cry or almost made me cry. That's it for this week. I'm going to edit this, upload this, and then start reading for the Queer Lit Readathon. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down in the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you're here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!